because I was watching or listening to a podcast where you were mentioning how you kind of go through bouts where sometimes you're really loving your training, and I think a lot of people can relate with that. I know I can for sure. Where you're really in love with your training, and then you kind of go through periods where, man, like you don't even want to step foot in the gym, right? And like, how does that change throughout the year in a normal, like forget
Hmm.
the pandemic, just in terms
Yeah.
of just before that, like, because I think this was I was also listening to where you mentioned this. I think it was 2018, so this was well before the pandemic, where you had mentioned where you kind of go through those periods. So yeah, how I guess what I'm getting at is, how do you handle that? Because I know for me personally, it obviously sucks. But you were mentioning it's like a make it or break it scenario, and that's what separates the people who see progress and see results, and those who just they fall off. They don't reach their goals, right? So, but maybe you can elaborate. I'm talking too much over here, so.
Yeah. Well, I think it's perfectly normal to go through those phases. And yeah, usually I think what happens is there's just a certain sense of guilt, when you're doing that, when you're going through something like that. Personally, what I have found is the best thing to do is just to kind of do the bare minimum, and within that bare minimum, just include a lot of things that maybe you find fun, even if they're suboptimal. So yeah, for me, it was when I was going through that, I was training like 4 days a week. I was squatting, like, and I know that with me, squats are kind of a deal with the devil, and that they're fun, but in regards to just doing what is it the best thing for my quads, given my goals, probably not. But it's like, all right, we're going to get really strong at the squat and at the good morning, and train 4 days a week, and we'll call it good, basically. um, did a lot of myo rep work so that things could stay, I didn't have to spend as much time there. And that always helps, as opposed to, you trying to force feed what you typically do when you are feeling great. I will say this. I think the seasons like that, if you have a week or two where you feel that way, okay, that's whatever. That probably happens to most people a few times a year, to be honest. But when it goes beyond that and it starts to become something chronic, I think that's when you kind of, put things on cruise control. And then before you know it, kind of like what happened with the lockdown, because it was kind of on cruise control, is like you start to miss it, and you're like, okay, I want more. I want more. And I would say it's like, hey, don't throw more just yet in there. Let it build up even more so. And then eventually you can start being a bit more cutthroaty and business-like with your approach. But yeah, very normal. I don't think it's talked about. But I think everyone has to go through those bouts. I know that after every contest prep afterwards, when it comes to my training, just bodybuilding in general, it's just like I need a month of just bare minimum. Like every set matters, every rep matters. And I'll tell you what, like this will be kind of a challenge to a lot of folks out there. A lot of the uber high volume people that you see, you should probably look at it in this order. There's this video that Lyle McDonald made on basically rep speed slowing down.